The strongest nations of World War II. Hello, and welcome. Today, we are exploring a question central to understanding the most devastating conflict in human history: who were the strongest countries in World War II? The war, which raged from 1939 to 1945, truly spanned the globe, involving over 50 nations and resulting in an estimated 70 million deaths. It was a total war, where a nation's strength was measured not just by the bravery of its soldiers, but by the size of its army, the might of its industry, the resilience of its people, and the strategic skill of its leaders. Determining strength is complex, as it shifted over time. A nation powerful in 1939 could be defeated by 1940, and industrial giants that entered the war later would ultimately decide its fate. For this overview, we will assess strength as a combination of military power, the total number of troops mobilized and their combat effectiveness, and industrial capacity, which supplied the tanks, ships, planes, and weapons necessary for prolonged warfare. Our story divides into two main alliances, the Allies and the Axis. On the Allied side, three nations stand out as the most powerful contributors to victory. First, the Soviet Union. In terms of raw manpower, no country matched the Soviet sacrifice and scale. The USSR mobilized a staggering 34.5 million personnel over the course of the war. The Eastern Front was the largest and bloodiest theater of war, where the Soviet Red Army engaged and ultimately destroyed the bulk of the German military. The decisive Battle of Stalingrad in 1942-43 was a catastrophic defeat for Germany and marked the beginning of the Soviet push westward to Berlin. Their strength lay in immense numbers, a formidable industrial base relocated east of the Ural Mountains, and a determined, if brutally costly, defense of their homeland. Second, the United States. If the Soviet Union provided the most bodies, the United States provided an unparalleled economic and industrial arsenal of democracy. Before entering the war in December 1941, the US was an economic giant. Once engaged, it mobilized 16.4 million troops and its factories produced weapons, vehicles, and ships at a rate that dwarfed all other nations. American industrial output supplied not only its own forces fighting in both the Pacific and Europe but also its allies through programs like Lend-Lease. The US Navy became the most powerful in the world, securing dominance in the Pacific after pivotal victories like Midway. America's strength was its invulnerable homeland, its limitless industrial capacity, and its technological innovation, culminating in the atomic bomb. Third, the United Kingdom. Britain was the only major Allied power to fight from the war's first day in September 1939 to its last. It mobilized 5.9 million personnel. Its initial strength was its powerful Royal Navy, which controlled vital sea lanes, and the Royal Air Force, which famously defeated the German Luftwaffe in the Battle of Britain in 1940, preventing a German invasion. Though often overstretched, the British Empire and Commonwealth provided a global network of resources and troops. Britain's resilience under bombardment, its scientific contributions, and its strategic leadership alongside the United States were fundamental to the Allied cause. Now, let's turn to the principal Axis powers, who launched the war with formidable, battle-hardened militaries. Germany, under Adolf Hitler, was the dominant force in Europe. It mobilized 18.1 million troops. The German Wehrmacht revolutionized warfare in the early years with the blitzkrieg or lightning war, a combined arms tactic using fast-moving tanks and air support to overwhelm enemies. By 1942, Germany controlled most of continental Europe from the Atlantic coast to deep inside the Soviet Union. Its strength was its advanced military technology, superb initial training, and tactical brilliance. However, its fatal weaknesses were the eventual overwhelming industrial might of its enemies and the disastrous decision to fight a two-front war against the Soviet Union and the Western Allies. Japan was the dominant power in Asia and the Pacific. It mobilized 9.1 million troops. The Imperial Japanese Navy was one of the world's most powerful at the war's start, and its army was experienced from years of fighting in China. Japan's surprise attack on Pearl Harbor in December 1941 demonstrated its formidable naval air power and ambition. Its strength lay in the fanatical dedication of its soldiers and sailors, and its early conquests of European colonies across Southeast Asia. Like Germany, Japan's weakness was an industrial base that could not compete in a long war against the United States, leading to its ultimate defeat after a brutal island-hopping campaign and the atomic bombings. Other nations played crucial roles. China, for instance, had been fighting Japan since 1937 and tied down millions of Japanese soldiers, suffering immense casualties. Countries like Canada, Australia, India, and others within the British Commonwealth contributed significantly in troops and material. To summarize the sheer scale of military mobilization for the key belligerents, here is a quick reference. Country alliance total troops mobilized, millions, key strength. Soviet Union allies 34.5 massive manpower, industrial sacrifice. United States allies 16.4 unmatched industry and amp technology. Germany Axis 18.1 advanced tactics and amp initial technological edge. Japan Axis 9.1 powerful navy, highly dedicated military. United Kingdom allies 5.9 naval power, air defense, global empire. In conclusion, the strongest nations at the start of the war, Germany and Japan, possessed fearsome, agile militaries. However, the strongest nations by the end of the war were those with the deepest industrial resources and population reserves, the United States and the Soviet Union. Their alliance sealed the fate of the Axis. The war's outcome fundamentally reshaped the world order, effectively ending the era of European global dominance and setting the stage for the Cold War between the two new superpowers that emerged from the ashes, the United States and the Soviet Union. Thank you for listening.